We begin this morning with a Fox News alert. Another historic moment in the 2024 election. President Joe Biden announcing he is dropping out of the presidential race just 107 days before the election.
The move comes amid all new reporting this morning that suggested Biden hesitated to drop out because his team didn't think Vice President Kamala Harris could handle taking on former President Donald Trump.
But Biden giving Harris his full endorsement shortly after bowing out yesterday. Harris already pulling in more than $49 million in less than 24 hours, according to the campaign.
So she's got money to run on. Meanwhile, news outlets across the country reacting to this historic moment as we see the 50-year-plus political career of Joe Biden come to a less than ceremonial end. There it says the end. Joe's out, Biden out. You get the message. It's all across the country. It is the biggest story of this week, and we've had a bunch of really big stories. We have live team coverage this morning. Doug Luzader is live in Washington, D.C. with how the Democratic Party is responding to the news. But we start with Jackie Heinrich, who is in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, where the president this morning is still recovering from COVID. We think, Jackie.
Good morning to you guys. The president's decision came together in less than a day, but it followed mounting pressure that stemmed from one of the most consequential decisions of his campaign, and that was holding the first presidential debate before the convention. That was on June 27th. And then his interview with ABC News on July 5th did not do enough to recover him. On the 12th, major Democratic donors started pulling out. And over the coming weeks, leaders like Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Hakeem Jeffries, Barack Obama all communicated their fears that Biden staying in the race would take down Democratic majorities in both the House and the Senate. But the president maintained that he was staying in publicly.
You got me, man. I'm not going anywhere.
I'm staying in the race. I'll beat Donald Trump.
Are you 100% undoubtedly running for re-election?
1,000%.
The president made his decision Saturday afternoon after his two closest aides, Steve Ricchetti and Mike Donilon, went over new data with the president showing that his race was doomed. Politico reports, in addition to presenting new concerns from lawmakers and updates on a fundraising operation that had slowed considerably, they carried the campaign's own polls, which came back this week and showed his path to victory in November was gone, according to 5 people familiar with the matter. The president then called one of the last men standing in his corner, Congressman Jim Clyburn, and revealed his intention to back his VP. Clyburn said in an interview last night that the president made that call and said that to him before he went public with his announcement. Now Harris will have to earn the nomination formally at the convention. She needs 1,986 delegates. As of about 10 o'clock last night, 531 had already endorsed her. But the machinery is up and running behind Harris. She posted this last night, but it first hit the internet a full day earlier from a different account.
He's a world leader in temper tantrums. She never loses her cool. This is Trump. This is the anti-Trump.
Now, just 7 hours after the president made his announcement, Act Blue had raked in $46.7 million in small donations, showing that the base is really re-energized now amid all this speculation about who might be her vice president. We're going to see Harris on the South Lawn today, standing in for Biden at an NCAA event on the South Lawn of the White House. That was pre-planned because Biden is still recovering from COVID here at his beach house, guys.
Hey, Jackie, quick question. In recounting what, the decision making, and there are a number of outlets who go inside and talk about, it was only a couple of people who actually knew. And then at the end of Saturday, they said, OK, let's all sleep on it. They reconvened. Most of the staff for the campaign found out 1 minute before the big announcement. But according to everything I've read, it sounds like Joe Biden really PO'd because so many Democrats stabbed him in the back and would not stand with him.
Yeah, and I've talked to a number of lawmakers who have spoken with the president since he made his announcement, and they're all just sad. They feel that he was stabbed in the gut, stabbed in the back by a lot of the closest people around him, and this decision didn't come lightly. I ran into Steve Ricchetti in an elevator last night. Ooh. He was the person that was in the room with the president drafting this letter in the overnight hours of Saturday before it went out as a surprise to everyone except for those three people, the VP, his chief of staff, and his campaign manager on Sunday afternoon. I asked Ricchetti, how's he doing? Is the president okay? And he just gave sort of a nod and a tight smile and said, he's okay, like that. He seemed pained to say it, guys.
Yeah, he was one of the ones that went to Rehoboth over the weekend to go and meet with Joe Biden and draft this letter. I'm sure there were a lot of tears in that room over the weekend, but it's something that Americans were calling for, especially Democrats. Thank you so much.
I'm personally over the tears and the sadness. I mean, if there's anyone that should be crying, it's the American people. We're the ones that have been lied to for over, 3 years about the moment. Obviously, I wish the president well. I want his health to be in order. I think that should be the main priority of the country right now, making sure that he gets the help that he needs. But again, we still have not seen Joe Biden. There was no video. There was no photo of the moment. All we got is a statement that he clearly didn't write. And, no offense to the president, but this reminds me of the moment when Dianne Feinstein was going down and she was ill. Everybody knew that she was ill. And the staff put out this statement about her retirement. And so all the Capitol Hill reporters started questioning and go, Madam Senator, you just put out the statement that she retired. And she goes, what statement? Right. She didn't know the statement at the time because obviously she was ill at the time. I don't think it's too much for us to request some type of press conference or some type of video from the commander-in-chief to figure out if he's the one who really signed this letter.
Well, I think he absolutely, he knew he had no choice to get out. He was fighting to the end. Then he realized he was shown the data that said there was no way you can win. He reluctantly called his chief of staff, Mike Donilon, to draft a letter with Steve Ricchetti. And they sat there and they worked it out on Saturday. They organized it. And then they informed Anita Dunn and her husband. Anita Dunn, a lot of people vilified because she was the one who got him or didn't get him ready for the debate and thought it would be a good idea to have that June debate. It'll go down as one of the biggest disastrous decisions in the history of politics because either they didn't know or they wanted him to go up in flames in front of the American people. But since that time, he's had almost no support outside Chris Coons, Jamie Harrison, and a handful of people because they don't think he physically can do it. They say it's the polls, but it's two things. He can't win, the money's dried up, and the polls show, and also he is not well. Right. And I also think when you come out and have the other Democrats say, I looked at him, he doesn't recognize me anymore, that's an issue you can't outrun and outspin. And that's been going on for a while. Apparently, in addition to those three in the room, he did talk to a number of his friends. And his friends, Joe Biden's friends, said essentially, you know what, Joe, you are risking your legacy, and you don't want the Democrats to scapegoat you in November if you lose. And what's interesting is, so Joe Biden is dropping out with 107 days before the election. I remember, because I'm old enough, I was watching LBJ on TV when he announced at the end of a very long speech on Vietnam, he wasn't going to do it.
He also served out the remainder of his term, and he said giving up the race would allow him to focus on his presidential duties, which they might say in Biden's case, too.
And then you got Truman. He dropped out 220 days, and Coolidge over a year. So time is of the essence. And what is curious is, while a number of states have already endorsed Kamala Harris, four of the top Democrats have not said whether or not they're on her side. Hakeem Jeffries has been quiet. Barack Obama, quiet. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer.
What does that say?
It says they want somebody else.
Right.
So this is the Democrats last night and yesterday evening praising Joe Biden as a patriot. Let's watch.
He has put people over politics and patriotism over personal position. And this is another heroic act in a long-running series of heroic acts by Joe Biden.
You know, the president took the honorable path. And I think, yes, this will be about his legacy.
Today's decision by Joe Biden to not seek re-election shows the difference between a selfless president and, in Donald Trump, a selfish person.
I think today we should focus on Joe Biden's incredible legacy of service to our nation, his selflessness, his accomplishments.
Today is about what Joe Biden did. He gave America a lesson in patriotism.
I think it's quite disgusting what
He gave us open borders and high crime.
Yeah, and these are the same people that wheeled him out. They wheeled him out, and they knew he wasn't ready. They put him on a debate stage, and they knew that he could not go against Donald Trump.
The cover-up. You're talking about the cover-up.
That's exactly right, the cover-up. He didn't even remember some of these people's names. And now you're telling me that they just found out that he was mentally in decline on the debate stage when they've had private conferences. Kamala Harris, which we're going to get to later, has a weekly meeting with the president in person, and she didn't know what was going on.
She kept saying he was fit to be president. He's just fine. He's in good health. He's not dropping out. Even
Run
the president
circles
said
around
that.
people.
Well, there's two things going on here. Number one, he's not running around circles around people. And I think Jon Stewart, his first day back, had said, can we see that guy that you're describing? And number two is, there's nothing heroic about what happened. He didn't want to go. Right. He got pushed over the ledge, and as he was falling down, they said, isn't it great for him to decide to go on his own?
Unbelievable.
The person that stood by, I just think it shows a lack of character, number one, to not stand up early and do this behind the scenes. But James Clyburn said on Saturday morning, he said, I'm going to stand by him as long as he wants to stay in the race. And then as soon as he says I'm out of the race, he goes, okay, well, let's look. He goes, I'm leaning towards Harris. Let's lean towards an open process. But these other people like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and now *ʔEᗓKITIG, they're all moving behind the scenes. And the person that looks terrible is Barack Obama, because he didn't tell the American people the truth, but behind the scenes he was destroying the end of Joe Biden's career. And if he really cared about the country, he would have said it earlier. And lastly, this is why they're holding off now. They want to make it seem like it's somewhat of a democratic process. And they said, well, there's 14 million people voted for Joe Biden. Let's open this up. They said, okay, but if they pick another one, like they picked Hillary Clinton, was made sure to win because they destroyed Bernie Sanders. Sanders starts winning. They make Biden the winner. They destroy Bernie Sanders. Now Biden is the nominee. They decide Biden shouldn't be doing it. So if they turn around and pick Kamala Harris, they look terrible. But ultimately, they have no choice but to pick Kamala Harris.
Well, if they just appoint her, it looks so bad, so there needs to be a process, and that's where we're going
And if
now.
they don't appoint her, it looks bad, too, because they're passing up what would be the first black female president.
Right, but the big question is, will people in November remember what happened in August? And that leads us to this.
Doug Luzader joins us now on how the members of the president's party are reacting to the news. Doug.
Hey, good morning, guys. Vice President Kamala Harris will speak today, actually, for the first time since all of this broke yesterday. She is scheduled to give remarks around 11:30 Eastern this morning at the second annual White House College Champions Day event. DNC Chair Jamie Harrison laid out a path for the nomination, saying in the coming days, the party will undertake a transparent and orderly process to move forward as a united Democratic Party with a candidate who can defeat Donald Trump in November. This process will be governed by established rules and procedures of the party. However, the Democratic Party is noticeably divided over whether its members will back Harris for president right now. Former President Obama issued a statement praising Biden's work in office without mentioning Harris. Instead, he called for an open process. Other big names aren't falling in line either, including former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, House Minority Leader *ʔEᗓKITIG, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. The New York Times editorial board joining that list, saying, quote, there are other qualified Democrats who could take on Mr. Trump and win, adding there is still time to put leading candidates through a process of public scrutiny before the convention next month in Chicago. Now, something a Democratic South Carolina Congressman Jim Clyburn apparently agrees with, saying this to CNN last night.
Let's go forward with these improvements that we've been making in this party, opening this party up to everybody, and keep it open to everybody. The process is there, and I think we ought to utilize that process.
Okay, now we talk about this Obama-Clinton rift. The Clintons say they are, quote, honored to endorse Kamala Harris. They aren't alone, with 178 Democratic lawmakers following suit with their endorsement, but she is not the nominee yet. Meanwhile, Independent Senator Joe Manchin tells us he's considering re-registering as a Democrat to throw his hat in the ring. To win the nomination, a candidate needs to secure 1,986 delegates. As of 10 p.m. last night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 531 have already endorsed Harris. That's a pretty good head start. Back to you guys.
The only thing, I just have a question. You might not know the answer because it's brand new to all of us. So they're doing a virtual nomination before the actual convention? Do you know?
There have been some question about this, because this is to make sure that they remain on the ballot in Ohio. And there is a question about whether Ohio will change the rules to allow for all this to happen. But there is this deadline in advance of that August 19th convention in Chicago.
Yeah. That's right. There's going to be a meeting Wednesday, the DNC, 2 o'clock. And it's supposed to be live streamed.
Thanks,
just like watching you, Mr. ᖴᖇIETIᗪS. Thank you very much for the live
report.
Yeah,
it looks like there was already some talk about that virtual convention before.
Right.
That
was to shove Joe through.
Exactly. I do find it interesting. You know, you hear about all these leaders of the Democratic Party when it comes to Joe Biden. Normally it's the president is the leader, and then Nancy Pelosi has since, they said, retired, and Hakeem Jeffries. But it's very clear that Barack Obama is the leader of the Democratic Party. And then you got Nancy Pelosi, who's essentially the enforcer. Meanwhile, you had all these people that were in leadership at one point saying they supported Joe Biden. Right. You had Chuck Schumer. But it looks like Barack Obama and Nancy Pelosi got exactly what they wanted. They just let it all unfold.
Well, America heard all of the news after lunchtime yesterday. It didn't take long for the media to start fawning over Kamala Harris. Watch this.
I was national co-chair for Kamala Harris for president. We're so damn excited now. My phone's blowing up. It's going crazy.
This is a woman who has great public values. She knows what she's in the game fighting for. She's fighting for people who are being left behind.
She's broken and smashed glass ceiling after glass ceiling. Now we have a prosecutor who they say is going to prosecute the case against Donald Trump.
And she delivers. I think somebody like that is really frightening to Donald Trump.
The only person that I will get out there and break my back for and campaign for and believe in, who is capable and qualified, is Vice President Kamala Harris.
Look, it's not about what this country was or what it is, but it's about what this country can be. Donald Trump cannot do that because he's a prisoner of his age. Kamala Harris can.
She's going to be really talking about sort of the power that she can have and leaning on the biography that she has to really bring people in and make people understand that she's relatable to a number of Americans.
Well, she's got some issues. Number one, she was for the new Green Deal, originally signing off on a $10 trillion new Green Deal. $369 billion was impossible to tolerate. She's also against fracking.
Yep. How's that going to help her in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, I mean, so, I was wrong? Okay. So we'll see what her policies are and what Joe Biden's policies are. And maybe that's why Barack Obama and others have not signed up for her yet.
Well, Axios has the pieces they just broke about 40 minutes ago that even Joe Biden doubted her ability to win, which is what took him so long to get out of the race. Right. And we cannot forget, listen, the Democrats had a primary 4 years ago, and the first person out of that race was Kamala Harris.
Yeah, in December, didn't even make it to 2020.
Don't try to shove someone down the Democrats' throat. I don't think it's going to work the way they think it is. This is the candidate they like the least.
Well, and when she ran for president opposite Joe Biden, she did not get one single vote delegate. Regarding Kamala Harris, apparently the night on Saturday night at Rehoboth Beach, when the president's advisors were there, they did look at the polling data, and it's been very closely held to the vest. We don't know exactly what the numbers are, but according to NBC, in their polling, the private polling, Harris versus Trump, she actually did better than Joe Biden. Ultimately, you know what I think? I know Joe Biden came out immediately to endorse her because he didn't want her to feel the same betrayal that he felt from Barack Obama when Barack Obama endorsed Hillary Clinton over him, and that's why he quickly told the party, she's my choice. But ultimately, I don't know if Joe Biden wants the Democrat, whoever the Democrat is, to win, because he wants to prove, look, I told you that I was the only one who could beat Donald Trump. You stabbed me in the back. I didn't run, and the Democrats lost. And, you know, logic would say, if your ego, you would probably say, yeah, I can understand.
There's so many unanswered questions. Whoever is the nominee, do they still debate Donald Trump in September? Joe Biden was the one that agreed to it. Does this person have to agree too?
I love what Trump said. Trump said, yeah, the next debate should be on Fox.
Right.
And I like to second that.
Me too.
Frank Biden, the president's brother, said this. He said, I'm happy to spend what time we have left with my brother on Sunday. Says he's happy about it. Selfishly, I will have him back to enjoy whatever time we have left in our lives. What does he know suddenly?
The family said they shot back and said he doesn't know anything. He hasn't talked to the president because he's a drunk.
Well,
That's what they said.
He said that.
Who said that?
The family released a statement saying that he has an alcohol problem and he has not spoken to the president, if I got that correct, in a few days. So they don't know what he's talking about.
His younger brother said his health played a role in his decision to drop out.
No wonder he was a perfect business partner for Hunter. Here's J.D. Vance on if the president can't run, should he be out now? Watch.
You'd investigate the people that hid Joe Biden's condition?
Well, I think somebody has to look at it. Look, you had people that lied to the American public. And I tell you what, you ought to take a look at his doctors because his doctors keep giving him this wonderful report. I'm not a doctor, but I saw him the other day, was unable to get up the children's stairs going into Air Force One.
Is it a coup against Joe Biden?
It's sort of, yeah.
I think it is. I mean, look, there's a constitutional process, the 25th Amendment. If Joe Biden can't run for president, he can't serve as president. And if they want to take him down because he's mentally incapable of serving, invoke the 25th Amendment. You don't get to sort of do this in the most politically beneficial way for Democrats. If it's an actual problem, they should take care of it in the appropriate way.
I mean, I feel like you just look at this two ways, Ainsley. If you're looking from what's best for the country, if a president cannot run a campaign, then he can't be the president of the United States.
Problem with
but if you're looking at the political way of it, then you say it gives Kamala Harris a bump by making her president.
Let's be honest.
Exactly.
He hasn't been running the country
for
the last 3.5 years. So whatever's going on behind the scenes, they all think is working right now until he stands up on that debate stage, and then they have to go, different path. But here's the problem: if the cabinet invokes the 25th Amendment, then Kamala becomes president. She will run as an incumbent. Right. She would be the first female black president. And she would run again, and that would be a big deal for women. So they have to be careful with this one, I think, because the political process needs to play out in a fair way. This lady was one of the first to drop out, if not the first. And then she gets picked to be VP, and then she would become the president without the people having to vote. I mean, that would be the luckiest son of a gun ever.
Now,
thanks for saying gun.
More from Jesse's interview with the former president, perhaps future president, and J.D. Vance tonight on his show at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Do you have your wallet?
I do have. Well played, Steve.
Oh.
I don't carry cash.
We have a bet. This bet has been driving us crazy for about 3 weeks.
You know, I was thinking that you had forgotten.
What was the bet?
If Joe Biden got out of the race, then I owe you $1.
Okay.
And Jones always pays his debt.
There's your wallet.
And you guys
under Joe Biden, that's not going to buy you much.
I don't care. I want the dollar.
Venmo.
You just want the credit card?
I can make change.
Venmo $1.
Venmo $1.
Venmo me $1.
I'll Venmo you $1. Maybe $2 for the lateness, okay? I should have gave it to you first thing.
All right.
You've been waiting to say that. Here we are, 23 minutes into the show.
That's right. And when you look at the headlines, I mean, this is the one that got me $1. I got it. Joe's out. The end. And look at that across the New York Times. Biden drops out, endorses Harris. Ducey gets $1.
This is true. You were right.
I love you.
Congratulations, Steve. Okay, we have a Fox News alert. Hours from now, Secret Service Director Kim Cheadle is set to be grilled on the Hill. A live report on that.
And now, with just 106 days left, Democrats can't
serve as president, and if they want to take him down because he's mentally incapable of serving, invoke the 25th Amendment.
You don't get to sort of do this in the most politically beneficial way for Democrats. If it's an actual problem, they should take care of it in the appropriate way.
I mean, I feel like you just look at this two ways. If you look at what's best for the country. If a president cannot run a campaign, then he can't be the president of the United States.
Problem with
but
that
if you're looking at the political way of it, then you say it gives Kamala Harris a bump by making her president.
Let's be honest. He hasn't been running the country for the last 3 years,
2.5 years. So whatever's going on behind the scenes, they all think is working right now until he stands up on that debate stage, and then they have to go, different path. But here's the problem. If the cabinet invokes the 25th Amendment, then Kamala becomes president. She will run as an incumbent. Right. She would be the first female black president. And she would run again, and that would be a big deal for women. Yep. So they have to be careful with this one, I think, because the political process needs to play out in a fair way. This lady was one of the first to drop out, if not the first. And then she gets picked VP to become the president. The son of a gun ever.
Yeah.
Right.
Now
Thanks
more,
for saying gun.
Right. More from Jesse's interview with
the former president, perhaps future president, and J.D. Vance tonight on his show at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Do you have your wallet?
I do have. Yeah. Well played, Steve. I don't carry cash.
We have bet. It's been driving us crazy for about 3 weeks.
I was thinking
and
that you had forgotten.
What was the bet?
If Joe Biden got out of the race.
Most detailed timeline yet for what happened. We have live team coverage. CB Cotton has the latest on the investigation in Butler, Pennsylvania. Though we begin with Lucas Thomason on Capitol Hill for a preview of today's testimony. Hey, Lucas.
Well, good morning, Lawrence. We're outside the hearing room on Capitol Hill just over a week after the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer has issued a subpoena to get the Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle to appear here before the committee. Many Republican lawmakers want her to resign. Cheadle says she's happy to come here, saying in a statement, quote, "We are eager to cooperate with the independent security review of the U.S. Secret Service's actions related to the July 13th assassination attempt of former President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. I look forward to the panel examining what happened and providing recommendations to help ensure it will never happen again." Comer saying in a statement, quote, "While we give overwhelming thanks to the individual Secret Service agents who did their jobs under immense pressure, this tragedy was preventable. The Secret Service has a zero-fail mission, but it failed on July 13, and in the days leading up to the rally, the Secret Service has thousands of employees and a significant budget, but now become the face of incompetence. And that budget, Lawrence, is $3.1 billion a year. Ahead of Cheadle's testimony, DHS announcing a, quote, bipartisan independent committee of law enforcement experts to conduct a 45-day review of the July 13th attempted assassination of the former president. Here are some of the headliners. Former DHS Secretary Janet Napolitano, Francis Townsend, former Homeland Security Advisor to President George W. Bush, Mark Flipp, a former federal judge and Deputy Attorney General to President George W. Bush. So, Lawrence, that hearing gets underway here on Capitol Hill at 10 a.m. It'll certainly get a lot more busy here on Capitol Hill as we approach that hearing, and we hope to see the Secret Service Director before she appears here in the hearing, Lawrence.
Wow. Thanks, Lucas. Now let's go to CB Cotton. She's live from Butler, Pennsylvania for the latest findings. What went wrong? CB, what are you learning?
Hi, good morning, Lawrence. Well, while we wait to hear Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle's answers to what's being called a security failure here in Butler, Pennsylvania, lawmakers are wasting no time to get answers of their own. Republican Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin has released his own preliminary findings into the shooting. His office now reporting that Secret Service did not attend a security briefing provided to local SWAT and sniper teams the morning of July 13th. Local law enforcement said communications were siloed and they were not in frequent radio contact directly with Secret Service. Local law enforcement notified command about crooks prior to the shooting and received confirmation that Secret Service was aware of the notification. These, again, apparent security lapses come in the senator's 13-page report, also including photos of the gunman, Thomas Crooks. We've told viewers before that these photos were circulated at least 30 minutes before the gunfire. Now Johnson's office says a local sniper took the pictures nearly an hour before the shooting. And Johnson's office says a local sniper also took this picture a little more than 30 minutes before the gunfire of a bike and bags near the building that Thomas Crooks fired from. The senator says it's not clear what happened to these items after the attempted assassination. We spoke to one rally goer who wanted to remain anonymous, and this man, he helped with the rally setup. Listen to what he had to say.
One of the volunteers was so upset by the lack of security, he went home that night and told his wife he's not going in. He stayed out in the parking lot, helping people park, and he never went in because of this lack of security.
A bipartisan group of lawmakers continues to call on the resignation of Director Cheadle. We also know that House Homeland Security Committee Chair Mark Green will be visiting the rally site today with other committee members. That's going to be happening at like 11:30 local time. We're going to be looking out for that and staying out here on the ground to learn more. Lawrence.
Yeah, they knew about it 30 minutes before about this guy, and they still let the president get out of the motorcade. It makes absolutely no sense. CB, thank you so much. Excellent report.
All right, Steve, you got more on our top story of the day.
I do indeed, Lawrence. Thank you very much. On Fox News Alert. Moments ago, Donald Trump hitting back at President Biden and his party.